Everything you thought you understood about your existence will be completely altered as a result of what will place in the next few minutes. Now, right now, you are standing on the brink of a revelation that will shatter the foundations of your existence. The curtain that separates the worlds has become more transparent. Your name shines brightest at the top of that list, position 1, etched there by forces that existed before time itself took its first breath. Out of the 7 billion souls that are wandering this world, only 3 have been marked. Not 30, not 300, but 3. It was never a coincidence, it was never a random occurrence, and it was never a game of chance. Those cosmic architects, who were responsible for designing the blueprint for the cosmos, placed your name there with a purposeful and deliberate intention. Ever since the time you took your first breath, they have been observing you and evaluating every single moment, every single decision, and every single breath you have taken. Are you experiencing that tightness in your chest at this very moment? However, that is not anxiety. Rather, it is recognition. Even though your intellect is having trouble accepting it, your spirit is aware of it. Even when you are crying alone in the dark, when you conquered against unimaginable odds, and when you stood back up after being crushed, the unseen watchers have never once taken their sight off of you. They lived through everything. They observed your resiliency in the face of the weight of existence itself, which threatened to pull you down. Your power to endure what would destroy lesser beings has been measured, and now the cosmic machinery has finally aligned. Gears that have been turning for millennia have clicked into their intended position, and stars have shifted into the exact configuration that is required for what is to come. It is not tomorrow or the following week. Your moment has arrived. Feel the air that is all around you now. Do you agree that it is different, stronger, with a greater potential for growth? You have been feeling that unmistakable tension for a number of months now. The pressure is building up like a storm that is about to break, and it is starting to break across the horizon of your life. As the fight in the invisible realms reaches its culmination, this is the momentous occasion. At this moment, the conflict that has been going on beyond the comprehension of regular people is beginning to seep into your world. You have experienced it in those times when time seemed to slow down, when synchronicities came with such a high frequency that even the most suspicious part of your mind was unable to dismiss them as a coincidence. The bizarre dreams, the startling insights that appear to come from nowhere, and the way random individuals look at you differently, now some with inexplicable reverence, others with evident fear, have all been preparations for this moment. Every nerve in your body has been preparing for this moment. Do not be misled. What is taking place right now is not only a fleeting instant in time, rather, it is a shift in the cosmos. In order to accommodate what you are about to become, the fundamental laws of the universe are being reorganized because the cosmos itself is reshaping itself around you. It is not possible to go back to the world that you were familiar with. That particular form of reality is already dissolving, and its components are reorganizing themselves into something new, something that is centered around your awakened power. The actions that you take in the future cannot be undone. As a result of the intensity of what is taking place, the path that was right behind you has already been destroyed. Your former existence was nothing more than a cocoon. What you are becoming today is exactly what you were always destined to be. Right in front of you are 2 paths, and only 2 of them. The situation does not allow for any kind of compromise, middle ground, or half measures to be taken. The first way is the root of mediocrity, which is the existence of people who never realize their actual nature. This is the life of the sleepwalker. This route is the path of the masses, the 99.9% of people who will live and die without leaving a mark on the universe. It provides the comfort of the familiar, the safety of limitations, and the quiet desperation of potential that will never be realized. There, before you, like a bolt of lightning that has been fixed in time, stands the second route, which is your path. It guarantees nothing but power that is beyond conception, assurances nothing but elevation that is beyond the reach of those who once believed of themselves as being on par with you, and pledges nothing but transformation. There have been many people who have stood where you are now. They were presented with the same choice, and presented with the same crossroads, and the majority of them failed. They were consumed by doubt, paralyzed by fear, and poisoned by the whispers of those small-minded beings who sensed their potential and sought to extinguish it before it could threaten their comfortable mediocrity. Many people have been tested in the same way that you are being tested. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, answer it. Click Join to unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening. Step into your divine purpose. Join the chosen. Your body, on the other hand, was never designed to fit in with the crowd. The very atoms that make up your body vibrate at a frequency that causes disruption to the commonplace, and your DNA itself is a rebel against uniformity. Even as a young child, you were aware that you were distinct from those around you. You were not superior or inferior, but you were fundamentally different. The actions that you do right now will determine everything. Have you decided to assert your rightful place at the cosmic table? Are you going to take on the role that has been set out for you since before you were born? Or are you going to falter, hesitate, and join the ranks of those who were almost chosen, but ultimately decided against it? These kinds of opportunities do not come around very often in the cosmos. Reflect on your life. Give it your full attention. See the patterns that have always been there, hiding in plain sight. The moments when time seemed to bend around you, the dreams that came true days later, the strangers who appeared precisely when you needed them, delivered exactly what you required, then vanished without explanation. The books that fell open to exactly the page you needed to read, the songs that played at precisely the moment their message would resonate most deeply. It was never a coincidence, it was never a random chance, and it was never just plain old luck. Instead of being directed by some nebulous, beneficent universe, you have been directed by a power that is both clever and deliberate, and it has moved the pieces on the board with surgical precision. Every interaction that seemed to be completely at random, every opportunity that came out of nowhere, and every door that was shut and forced you to take an alternative path were all well staged and planned out. Now is the time to pay attention, since this will likely be the most important warning you will ever receive. In addition to being selected, you are also being targeted. People who are close to you, people in whom you have faith, people whose words have weight in your thoughts, and people who are not what they appear to be, are all around you. The presence of this person in your life is not a coincidence, it is not a gift, and it is not a good thing. They were established in that location, positioned with meticulous planning, and given a single mission: to prevent you from asserting your authority over the situation. They have gradually implanted doubts into your mind, and you have come to believe that the concepts contained within your mind were your own. Through their actions, They have seeded the seeds of insecurity, which have grown into forests of constraint. Your instincts have been called into question. Your senses have been called into question, and you have been questioning your own magnificence because of them. Take a look about you right now. Who is it that continually brings down your aspirations? Who always has a recommendation that can be put into practice when you are talking about something higher? In spite of the fact that they appear to be supportive on the surface, who leaves you feeling exhausted, bewildered, or less confident after each interaction? This is your final warning. Remove this influence from your life immediately, or you will be forced to watch them bring you down at the very moment that you are beginning to climb the ladder of success. They are a prison guard posing as a guide, and they are similar to an anchor that is disguised as a life vest. The era of unquestioning faith has come to an end. At this moment, your discernment needs to be as sharp as a razor. Every remark, every suggestion, and every query that appears to be innocent needs to be analyzed to determine whether or not it contains any poison. Your ascension poses a challenge to the established order. It is important to keep in mind that the cycle that has held you captive, the never-ending loop of limitation, betrayal, and scarcity, is approaching its conclusion. Have you experienced the sensation of the ground shaking beneath your feet? The basis of the ancient world is in the process of cracking as observed here. The power sources of the systems that were created to keep beings like you contained are running out, and the builders of these systems are becoming increasingly anxious as they feel their control slipping away of them. You are stepping into a frequency where nothing and no one can touch you. Not the doubters, not the skeptics, not the small-minded masses who cling to their limited perspectives like drowning men clutching driftwood in a storm. People who once dismissed you, who looked through you as if you were transparent, who spoke over you in conversations, who rejected your ideas only to claim them as their own months later, will now be forced to acknowledge what they tried so hard to ignore. Your presence will become indisputable, and your energy will fill spaces even before your physical body enters them. Everything is undergoing change. You are standing at the exact center of this cosmic reorganization, the focal point around which the new reality arranges itself. The weak are collapsing, and they are being exposed as the frauds that they have always been. The mighty are rising, and they are seizing the positions that were always destined for them. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be with you. Remember this truth. Our lives are anchored in His divine plan, beyond worldly concerns. As Scripture says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." Luke 6:38. Like a mighty oak, we stand firm in His strength. Now you have the opportunity to step into that blessing. When you use the super thank you button and give $100, know that His abundance will return to you 100-fold. This is not a metaphor, and it is not a symbol. Rather, it is the true reorganization of your physical reality in order to make room for the expanded being that you are becoming. There has always been something about you that other people have been unable to fully identify. It is something that has made them uncomfortable, even as it has drawn them to you. It could be a quality in your eyes, a resonance in your voice, or an energy field that has disrupted the comfortable numbness that they have mistaken for serenity. This force, this power, has been repressed, have been kept dormant, and have been permitted to express only a small portion of its actual capacity up until this point. The locks are cracking, the chains are crumbling, and the seals that have been placed upon your actual essence are being burned away by the same energy that they were supposed to contain. In the future, there will be no room for uncertainty or unbelief because of what is going to happen. You are not like the other people, and the world will no longer be able to defend itself against what it sees taking place in front of it. You have never been. The mask that you have been wearing, the human outfit that has enabled you to move through society undetected, is dissolving, drawing attention to what is actually going on under the surface. The entire universe is doing nothing but holding its breath as it waits to see what you will do with this force that has been released freely. You are standing in front of a doorway that very few people have ever even had the opportunity to approach, let alone walk through. Your awareness expands to cover worlds that are beyond the material plane, and as a result, it shimmers at the border of your perception, growing more substantial with each passing instant. You have reached the final limit between who you have been and who you are becoming, and this threshold reflects that boundary. When you look beyond it, you will find all that you have long felt was possible, but could never quite achieve. The version of yourself that has been present in potential ever since the beginning of time is waiting for you beyond it. This version of yourself is patient, powerful, and perfect upon fulfillment. A sacrifice is required in order to open this door. You must give up everything you have ever known in order to become what you were always destined to be. Your current identity, your limiting beliefs, your comfy patterns, your familiar sorrow, and your practiced smallness are all things that need to be given and offered up as fuel for the transformation that is waiting for you. Fear will come upon you now, and it will be more severe than anything you have ever experienced before. Doubt will murmur with the voices of everyone who has ever advised you to be genuine and realistic, to establish objectives that are attainable, and to accept the limits of what is considered to be normal human experience. The feeling of hesitancy will encircle your limbs like invisible bands, compelling you to wait, to give it some thought, and to put off the inevitable. However, you were never intended to fall into the category of the commonplace. The coding sequences that are contained within your DNA have not yet been identified by scientists. Neurology has not yet had the opportunity to map the paths that your brain uses to process information. To a greater extent, and with a greater impact than any equipment can measure, your energy field stretches beyond. You are in possession of the key. It has always been a part of you. The question that reverberates throughout the universe, that reverberates through the universe that is watching, and that affects everything that comes after, it is simply this: will you turn it? Throughout this process, the unseen world has been working tirelessly and precisely in your favor, rearranging the very fabric of reality to facilitate your emergence. Those seemingly insignificant changes that you have observed, such as strange encounters with individuals who appear to provide just the message that you required, sudden opportunities that emerge out of nowhere, and hurdles that resolve themselves before you even have the chance to interact with them, are not random, not coincidental, and not luck. These are the manifestations of forces that are working relentlessly behind the veil of your perception, removing obstacles from your path, removing obstacles before you reach them, and arranging assets just where you will require them. Everything is coming together for one reason and one reason only: to distinguish you from the rest of the people, to place you at the center of what is going to happen next, to make certain that when the time comes, there is nothing that can stand in the way of you achieving your destiny. As you take this step, you are entering the unavoidable. It is impossible to quantify the velocity that is behind you, and the energy that is supporting you is incomprehensible. Once something has been started in motion, there is nothing that can stop it. No force on Earth or beyond can halt what is going to happen next. The only question that remains is whether or not you will move forward with the self-assurance that is commensurate with your position, or whether you will shrink from your own majesty, so becoming the single obstacle that the unseen powers are unable to remove from your path. Because the moment has arrived for the final veils to fall. Everything that has been concealed will now be shown to you. This will not happen gradually or in fragments. Rather, it will happen all at once in a flood of revelation that will completely alter your perception of reality. In the future, you will no longer be able to avoid obtaining the truth, which has been concealed for a long time by control mechanisms, buried beneath layers of deception, and guarded by those who profit from the ignorance of people. Now it emerges from the depths like a colossal beast. It is enormous, indisputable, and transformational in the ramifications it could have. Your sense of perception is becoming more acute than the average human being is capable of. You will be able to see through every falsehood, every fake reality, and every deceit that is designed to keep you small and contained. The words that are spoken will reveal the intents that lie behind them, and the faces will become transparent, revealing the genuine feelings that lie beneath every mask. Your heightened awareness will reveal the mechanisms that underlie the control systems that are in place, exposing them to the public. The realization that reality itself is changeable, receptive to consciousness, and susceptible to the will of people who have woken to their actual nature is the knowledge that they never wanted you to have as a part of your knowledge. After you have completely accepted this knowledge, there is no going back. You will never understand the world in the same way that you did in the past. In the future, you will never again accept the constraints that other people say are the natural state of affairs. Under no circumstances will you ever again give your agreement to playing by rules that are designed to keep you contained. This understanding is both emancipation and duty. It is both strength and burden. It is one that brings about both the end and the beginning. Are you prepared to learn something that cannot be learned? The time for questioning has come to an end. The time for confusion has come to an end. And the time for wondering what should have happened has come to an end. You have a profound understanding of who you are, rooted deep within the cosmic field of your consciousness, at the very core of your being. It is possible that the recognition will come as a whisper or as a roar. However, it will arrive with complete indisputable clarity and unwavering conviction. You are no longer at the mercy of the illusions that society has created. Their judgments are pointless and useless, and they have no ability to influence you in any manner. Your awakened presence causes their expectations, which they constructed in order to confine your potential, to disintegrate before the force of your presence. Now you take control, not through force, not through struggle, not through the means of the old paradigm, but through becoming, through embodying so perfectly the being you were always meant to be, that reality has no choice but to restructure itself around you. They will tremble when they see what you have become. This is not because you are seeking vengeance. Rather, it is because your very presence will expose the smallness that they mistook for safety, the limitations that they embraced in order to avoid the responsibility of greatness, and the laws that govern ordinary existence that no longer apply to you. Those who once disregarded you, who spoke over you in meetings, who ignored your contributions, and who treated your insights as insignificant will tremble when they see what you have become. Because of your objectives, probability will bend around them. Coincidence will arrange itself to serve your purpose, and causality will respond to your conscious guidance with its own actions. You have broken free from the confines that were provided to you by the programming. Just wait and see what transpires. Something that used to take years to materialize will now take months. Something that used to require months will now appear in weeks. Something that used to require weeks of effort will now materialize in days. The acceleration has begun. The distance that separates idea and manifestation is narrowing. The gap that separates intention and reality is getting smaller, and the boundary that separates what you imagine and what actually exists in the physical world is becoming more and more porous. In front of your very eyes, something that appeared to be impossible in the past will unfold with such a naturalness that you will wonder how you ever had any doubts about whether or not it could be genuine. Opportunities that were once only available to you once in a lifetime will now present themselves with a staggering frequency. Connections that would have taken decades to build will form in moments of synchronistic perfection. The limitations that were once applicable to you, such as the rules of time, probability, resource, and connection, will no longer hold any weight. It was never the case that these laws were absolute. Rather, they were always contextual limits that were only applicable to individuals working at specific frequencies of consciousness, and your frequency has certainly shifted. Those individuals who were before unable to or unwilling to realize your true nature will now be forced to see it, because they will have no other option. The power of your manifestation will become so obvious and indisputable that even the most ardent skeptics will be compelled to accept that something amazing is taking place via your efforts. A few people will refer to it as luck, while others will call it privilege. The more discerning individuals will perceive it as power, which is a force of creativity that is unfiltered and raw, and it is pouring through a being that has finally recalled who they are. It is surging up inside of you. You can feel it. Your judgments are no longer tormented by the hesitance that used to haunt them. The dread that used to immobilize your activities has vanished, and the doubt that used to darken your vision has vanished. Something new has taken its place. It is a clarity so pure that it cuts through uncertainty, like lightning through darkness. It is a certainty so profound that it renders doubt obsolete, and it is a power so fundamental that it transforms reality simply by being present. You are now a force of nature, an uncontrollable storm that no one saw coming. Your energy precedes you, reshaping situations before you ever engage with them. You are a storm that no one saw coming. Your presence, by its very nature, has the ability to change outcomes. It does so not via action, but rather simply being. It is inevitable that the world will either yield or break in the face of this force, but it will never again ignore you. Because you have become too powerful, too present, and too real to be ignored or neglected, it is impossible for it to take you into consideration. They will find themselves increasingly irrelevant, pushed to the periphery of a reality that now revolves around your awakened power. Those who are in alignment with your goal will be lifted by your closeness, while those who oppose will find themselves increasingly irrelevant. When all constraints are eliminated, when all conditioning is erased, and when all false identities are shed like outgrown skins, this is the natural expression of what you truly are. This is not ego in any way, and it is not arrogance either. It was never a matter of chance, and it was never a matter of fate whatsoever. The subject at hand was inevitability. Your name is burning at position 1 for a reason that is beyond human explanation, beyond conventional reasoning, and beyond the restricted perspective of three-dimensional thinking. Only 3 were chosen from among the billions of candidates. After the shift has started, it is impossible to stop it. It cannot be reversed, and it cannot be contained.